Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good. Great. Good.
Please give yourselves a big round of applause. Some of us, well, let me first say my name is Dana Smith. I introduce myself to audiences as I'm a man named Dana. So don't get it twisted. Really good to be here. When I got that call, I went home 6 years ago. Little illness, had to move back in with my family. Really doing well now. But when I got that call from Marlene that said they were having this ending celebration for Gwinnett Stop, I jumped up and did a dance in the middle of the living room.
All right now.
I have not traveled, I have not been anywhere else. I don't know if there's any other call I would have accepted. But for that one, I would have walked here if I had to.
All right.
So I'm here, happy and proud to be here. It's wonderful to see some of the faces I haven't seen, some of the young folks and parents that I've had the luxury and the honor of working with by way of Gwinnett Stop. Our illustrious panel, some folks, all of which had a significant thumb, finger, head, back, behind print on the work, okay? These folks did some things. They're not just here, there's not just a random assemblage of folks. Obviously, you're all familiar with Marlene Tillman now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, give her a hand. Down at the far end over there, we have Jen Falk,
Yes.
co-founder of Gwinnett Stop, along with Marlene Tillman. And the third leg of that wheel is none other than Sharon Capers. Right. The gentleman who shares the male DNA stuff that we got going on the stage is none other than Bill Ross. And Bill, don't know where they found him. I'm gonna ask him to speak about how we can get other men involved, because we know women lead the charge of change.
All right now.
I'm sorry, it is what it is. And it is what it's continued to be. We need more male DNA up in here shaking, moving, and making this change. I'm going to ask him how he stayed so motivated and what brought him into the fold. And last, but definitely not least, we have Karen Scott Green. Would you give her a hand, please? Not once, but twice to the G-Stop Parent Leadership Institute. What's so nice, she did it twice. She was a wonderful addition each and every time. She can talk about what it means to advocate for a parent, to take on the mantle of having the power and using it as a parent. One of the things that was so phenomenal about Gwinnett Stop is rolling out that educational initiative. At some point in time, Jen, Marlene, and Sharon realized we can't do this by ourselves. We've got to multiply. And that's what they did through their educational efforts. Once upon a time, landed a grant, said they needed a program, developed it. I was glad to be a part of that. I'm a facilitator. I've been dealing with issues of race and discrimination for over 40 years. I've facilitated in almost 40 different states in the United States. Still today, one of the longest standing diversity facilitators for Coca-Cola Enterprises. A lot of folks in the room don't realize that Coca-Cola lost one of the biggest discrimination lawsuits in the country. So they were forced to hire some independents like myself to spread that word about change and equity across the nation. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you're here. Would you please give the folks, I see the folks that dined that wonderful food. Are they all gone back there already? I don't see them in the mix. That food was great. They were wonderful. Can't forget the small stuff that makes things so big and so much better. Okay, so I'm just going to pose a few questions. It's going to be kind of open-ended, but I'll direct one for each of our wonderful panelists. May I start with you, Karen?
Yes, you may.
Thank you ever so much. Having gone through Gwinnett Parent Leadership twice, what motivated you, one, to come the first time, but two, to come a second time? What was so important about it?
So the first time, what motivated me is that I'm an attorney. I'm a child advocate attorney. And so this information was important to the work that I do, because I represent children that are in foster care. And for those of you that are familiar with the foster care system, these are the children that are the most vulnerable to be pushed out of school. And they don't have advocates advocating for them in an education setting. And so as part of my work, what I learned with these resources that I got connected to was that I was educating foster parents. Although that was not my role, I was educating them on how to advocate for the young people in their homes. And so I use the resources and the information and the knowledge and the people that I got connected to through Gwinnett Stop to help my clients. And the second time I went through it, that's because Marlene is a bully. Bullied me into doing it for the second time. And that's not a lie. But I was very happy to do it because both times we looked, as I said in the documentary, first time we looked at policy. The school board has these disciplinary policies, and then they'll have numbers on how the children are impacted by these policies, and we looked deeper than that. Okay, well, you're saying that X percentage of students are being disciplined, but then you're looking at who are the children that are not included in those numbers. What's happening with the special education students. So we learned to look deeper than just the numbers themselves. And we also advocated at the state legislature. We did that with Gwinnett Stop as co-partnering with the Children's Interfaith Movement. So through Gwinnett Stop, I was connected and plugged in, or Gwinnett Stop was connected and plugged in with a lot of different other agencies. And so that information that we as parents, because I'm also a parent of 3 students that came through Gwinnett County. So that, and 2 of my students, one had a 504, one had an IEP. So I, even as an attorney, gained information that I use with my students and how to advocate for my own children. So yeah, that was very important to me.
And you can tell when you met Marlon, she was insisting on keeping you children. Bullying and all, yeah.
And I'm glad that I got to know her because I now consider her a friend, even though she is a bully.
It's always good to have the bully on your side.
I hope we all understand that change often is built like a pyramid. It's a foundation at the bottom, and then it gets smaller as it goes up to the point, to the top, where usually the leadership lives. But without that foundation, with parents like you, we have no change. We have no advocacy. We have no support. We have no commitment. So thank you for being a part of that foundation very, very much, Karen. Sherry, can I come to you next over here? Sharon doesn't like this bright lights now. She said if she could stay over there, she would. So we'll all acknowledge that. But she is a diehard information finder, analyst, super parent. I don't know when their roads crossed that they asked her to be a part of Gwinnett Stop, but I am ever so happy that she said yes. Without the commitment and the kind of tenacity that she brings from behind the scenes, because she's not going to find her on the front stage. We're going to make sure that she gets as much credit as she deserves as well. So Sharon, would you just tell the folks in a few words, what made you gravitate toward G-Stop and lend some of all that incredible compassion and talent that you had to make it into the success?
Well, I think teamwork makes the dream work. We were stronger as a team than we were as individuals. We come from different backgrounds, different professions. We have different talents and skills. Our children have different needs, but we all wanted them to be successful in school and life. For me, it started with my youngest daughter. She was struggling in school in the first grade, and I didn't know what was going on. Her older daughters loved to read, but she really struggled. So she got tested, and with a lot of encouragement from me, and she ended up with specific learning disability or dyslexia. Initially, I felt so helpless, but I researched endlessly. I went to all kinds of conferences, joined committees, boards, because I felt like knowledge was power. Then in high school, my oldest daughter, who was in the gifted program, she started developing some behavioral issues. And she ended up on a discipline panel or tribunal after an accumulation of multiple minor offenses. So they wanted to send her to the gift center. We were able to hire an attorney and keep her in her home school, but that was really a wake-up call and a big challenge. And when I was watching the film, I saw the pavilion where you did the demonstration. That's actually where she got married 9 years ago. So for me, meeting my fellow co-chairs was a lifesaver. The school system was much more supportive knowing that I had a village of support behind me.
Thank you very much, Aaron, appreciate it. If you don't mind, Marlon, I'm gonna skip you and ask that handsome man next a question or two, okay? Bill, as I made reference to, there aren't many and far, far too few men in champion change when it comes to our children. You're kind of unique in that way. I don't know again how you got here, but I'm glad you made it. I remember you being such an active kid, another Jim Brown. Yeah, she bring them all in, doesn't she? She was a fisherman, or the fisher person. I remember us being in many sessions at Five Forks Trickham Library, where you brought in a very powerful, empathic voice in terms of how we all need to be involved in our children's lives. So can you tell us also what gravitated you toward Gwinnett stuff?
I think it was a combination of things, actually. I come from a family of educators. My mother and one of her sisters were teachers. My older sister is a teacher, and in fact, she had a specialty in special education. And so between the three of them, listening to their stories, and far too many of them horror stories, about things that were happening in schools, particularly as impacts children with special needs. So that was one, my antenna were up when I started hearing about the things that were happening in Gwinnett, and then found out that there was a group that was trying to fight back. At the time, I was the parent of 3 teenagers of my own, 2 of whom were boys. And so many of us know, just like in our community, the talk. Well, you know that special talk you have with young black boys. And so I had that talk with my sons. And then again, knowing from the educator standpoint and just from the father standpoint, you know, that just hit my heart. And then third, in my family, I was the school parent. My wife is kind of the stay-at-home person. I was the PTA parent. You know, so I was already used to being involved in the parent-teacher organizations and coaching the kids, and I was the school parent. And so this organization and what they were trying to do just hit all of those personal buttons. And then, kind of to top that all off, at the time, y'all can't tell I'm an alpha man.
You don't say.
And I happen to be serving here in the Gwinnett County chapter, the Rho Kappa Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and I happen to be the director of educational activities for the chapter. Alpha has several core national programs, one of which is go to high school, go to college. And every Alpha chapter has a mission to focus on particularly youth, but particularly black young men, to make sure that they are focusing on getting through high school and preparing them to go on to college. But then again, we know that some of the systemic challenges, the over-policing, the, finding themselves in the pipeline, all of that. And so knowing the programs, we had mentoring programs and we had our own branded outreach and things that we were doing to try to reach young men. But it just hit me that all of those efforts would be for naught when we see, and it doesn't matter, just as Sharon said, she had a daughter who was in the gifted program and then through a series of events found herself on the disciplinary side. We saw many of the things in the film, so it doesn't matter. We can have high-achieving young men, gifted athletes, and it only takes one encounter with the system, and they can find themselves in that pipeline, and that's a slippery slope to find yourselves on. So it just seemed like the right thing, natural thing, and an empowering thing to pair with my personal interests and my fraternal interests. That this was the place for me to be and a thing to get involved with.
Thank you for coming through, Bill. Really appreciate it. Jen, how are you?
I'm good. You got your microphones and I hate microphones, period.
Not as much as Sharon, right? So.
Oh, I think we're on equal par.
I'm an avid reader. One of the books I have on my shelf is entitled This Bridge Called My Back. It's a collection of poems, sonnets and short stories from women who have talked about how they've been the support to the change that's required in equity in our country and in the world. If you ever get a chance, pick it up. Jen Falk used her back to allow me to walk across to that bridge to that stop. I met Jen in her capacity as a PTA president, and I think I was called from the Anti-Defamation League, an organization that I consulted with doing anti-bias work for the better part of 20 years. I did a workshop, she was there obviously, and said, you should look up when that stopped. Come in, invited me to a meeting. 10 years later, I was still there. So I knew I found the right place, and I can't thank you enough, person to person, heart to heart, soul to soul, for introducing me to your phenomenal organization. So, just in a few words, tell us about a few of the victories and a few of the things that kept you so motivated to do such wonderful work for doing that stuff.
Well, I really can't start my story without starting my story. As I was driving here today, I read your question, and I was thinking of all the people beyond the people on the stage and beyond this great video that really inspired me to make a difference. And my story started before Marlon. My story started by a man who we lost way too soon. His name is Reverend. Now I'm so Reverend John Stewart. Okay, and his wife is here tonight. Please, this was the inspiration for me, was his call. I had joined that PTA, the state PTA, and tried to get a grant, got a grant, and was having this big old summit, and thinking I knew what I was doing. And the night before, I get a call from Reverend Stewart. Well, I didn't know who Reverend Stewart is. I'm like an atheist. I have no religion, no nothing. I had no idea who he was. And he just introduced himself as John Stewart. And he started grilling me. He said, okay, so you with the state PTA, tell me how you got there. And then he said, what do you really intend to do with this summit? Who did you invite? How did you design the classes? And I thought, who is this guy? And he said, and at the end, he said,
I want to send some parents to you. And he had been talking and working with families in Gwinnett about push out and about how to make it better. And he had such courage. So he sent families to this summit. And that was my start. That is when I realized that, oh, guess what? You can send an open records request asking how many kids, kindergartners in Gwinnett, have been handcuffed. And that's when I got the courage to ask those questions. So that is the start. And when I was driving here, as I started the story, I'm old and I forget things. But I thought there was no politician that ever stood up, not one politician that ever stood up in Gwinnett to support our group. And as I was driving, I was thinking, and there was no religious leader. And then I stopped. And it was Jon Stewart, the only religious leader in all of Gwinnett County to stand up and to motivate this process.
Fair.
So please stand up and on his behalf. So thank you for that leeway. And so what was the question? But I couldn't let that moment pass.
Thank you, that's the most important moment.
Okay.
We just wanted to hear from you in terms of some of the many successes, just a little, that's all right, just a few of the successes and what kept you so motivated.
All right. Well, success is really defined from failure. I mean, let's just be honest about it. And as I was driving up here again, I never looked at directions, and I drove to the Lawrenceville Library. And it's the Hooper Renwick School for Children with Disabilities. And I thought, what a whitewash this is now. So the first failure was taking a young man as his advocate to Hooper Renwick. He was at Hooper Renwick, and the Marcus Center was part of his behavioral plan. He was coming out of Marcus Center program. Marcus Center, big name, right? They were going to put that young man, 20 years old, in a unpadded room when he had an outburst, kind of like you heard Leslie Lipson talk about here. And I looked at the Marcus Center expecting pushback, knowing full well that they knew this was not the right thing. And that representative, I don't know if you're in this room, but that representative said, well, maybe you could pad the room. And I realized then and there that the connections, and this is my opinion only, the connections between organizations as honest and good as they are, or seem to be, fail. And so we failed there. So that was one of the really kind of personal micro stories. Oh, and then there were so many more. I'll just tell one more. One of the big successes was getting in the discipline code. What you could get arrested for. Parents didn't know what you could get arrested for because it wasn't listed. So we got that done. No prone restraints for any child in the state of Georgia, regardless of whether or not it's public or private school. That now is a state educational rule. And then we just love, I just go back to my nights with Sharon and Marlene and myself when the stupid contract was presented called IE squared. And Sharon would just, her sweet voice, call and say, well, wait a second, I think this calculation means this. And it was a terrible thing, and it's still terrible. And in 3 words or less, our success was having that contract only go out to 2 other counties when Alvin Wilbanks fully intended for it to go out to the entire state. And frankly, my 20-year-old son figured it out. Why would you have different educational benchmarks for different schools by different races when your schools are 10 miles apart? 20 years old, he figured that out. So, I don't know, successes, failures, experiences, those were the big ones for me.
Thank you very
Sure.
much. Tillman.
Speak to me, Smith, speak to me.
Your turn. This truly is a watershed moment. I sit here and I'm sure many of us in here share the sad feeling of sensing that Gwinnett Stock will no longer be here. But in your own words, what would you like from all of the phenomenal work that you did for so many parents and so many children? What would you like the legacy of Gwinnett Stock to be?
Empowerment. Empowerment. It is about the community understanding their power, and I said this at the beginning, using their power, wielding it, all of that. Like, I want you to be empowered. You have the power to push back. You have the power to get information. You have the power to advocate for not just your child. That was a big thing with Gwinnett Stock. Yes, you will be able to help your child, but you better help somebody else's. Every student that comes through the school system, whether you gave birth to them or not. They are the people you greet in businesses. They are the people who wait on you. They are the people that you meet at the park, that you develop relationships with as neighbors. You will be impacted at every level. One of my favorite things was to say that I need people putting into the Social Security system so that I can get mine.
Yes.
But at the same time, I want, for me it was, I want to be in a community where people are not just surviving but thriving, where they're happy, where they have the time to volunteer and feed back into the community. I'm a consummate volunteer. I'm always volunteering and have done so for years. But I want people to be empowered to tell your story, be empowered to push back, be empowered to be you, and let your child be, right? Remind them that they're children. Help other parents understand that they have children, not little adults. I want the community to take the movement and move with it. One of my favorite things is to say, go forth and be powerful. Use that word power, wield it, flex it, turn it on its head. Do not let others have your power. You can't get mine. And you need to make sure people don't take yours. And if I could just kind of say something to all folks on the stage, like, Dana, I love you. I'm so glad you are here. Karen likes to say that I bullied her. I did. But she couldn't be bullied if I couldn't have bullied her if she didn't let me.
That's right.
And I did.
So, you let me. But she was such a wonderful addition to the organization, to my life. She's been such a great support and a voice. And I love that someone who is connected with Gwinnett Stock has taken it out further into the system. And we have the honor of being in 2 doctoral students' dissertations. Underground Railroad is Dr. King. You have to look her up. She's phenomenal. Dr. Joyce King, she's actually a ship. She is phenomenal. She was shipping her students over to us. You have to be involved. You have to see what parents can do. And Sharon, I stalked you. That's how you got. So we were on some special group listservs together. For the people who are too young to know what that is, it's like an email group, right? And so we were on some listservs that were specific to special education, and Sharon is really knowledgeable on special ed, on mental health. She was really involved. And I'm looking at some of her responses back to parents. It was a group of parents and attorneys who were on this listserv, and advocates, non-legal advocates. And I'm looking at her responses, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna get her. Jennifer already said, we ain't doing this by ourselves, Marlene. And so I kept on her. And so a lot of those messages that were sent to the group were directed at her. And then she finally was silly enough to give me her note. And Jen leaned on Bill to, what, your organization could be part of this. Bill was here from just about the beginning. I think we were 5 minutes in, and here you popped up. And so it was really great. I'm so glad that you're here. Folks came in, and not everybody's living here anymore, but I have to appreciate you all for coming and being here and being there, right, in those moments. Jen, we've been through a lot. I still love you. We fought, we've agreed, we got on, and it was just beautiful. And I'm glad that you brought that HR spirit in. Let people know, you can't do that. That's not how you run things. And with me just being the bully, yeah, I said. It worked too well. So I just want to appreciate you all. I want to appreciate the folks in this room who are part of the organization. Like all of our PLI alumni, can you please stand? I know I'm all scripted, but can y'all please stand? I know, Mustafa, get up.
PLI.
Charlie, please. Victoria was part of the first youth group that we had.
Wow.
I know she's hiding now. She's like, "What's she doing?" But that's this work goes on, and it goes on without when that stop. So go forth and be powerful.
Thank you. In the video, Pamela, where's Pamela? She's
Right back there.
I know that.
Hi.
Yeah, that's it. That's usual. Pamela said when that stopped, created a family. This is the family. It starts there, emanates here. And please, as Marlene just encouraged, go forth and be powerful. Let's not let it stop here. We may need some new leadership, some new coalition building, but the work is critically needed. Critically needed all across this nation. We just want to acknowledge before we wrap it up, we have a couple of things for those wonderful sisterhood who started and continued this fabulous work, not only throughout Gwinnett, but across this nation, bringing equity, change, love, and support to families, parents, school systems that need it most. Would you be so kind, Cal?
I want to give you our flowers while y'all can still smell them.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
That means I get to have a moment.
And who was that other person toting flowers? It was the other gentleman that brought flowers.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe you should introduce.
Like,
Oh, here, take mine. I don't need it.
Okay, good. So that was my young youngest baby. So that's Morgan. We have a plethora of Morgans in the room today. Various Morgans, but that Morgan is my youngest baby. So yeah. So yeah, that's the one who I thought was smart, just not as smart as Vanessa. But thank you.
We have questions from the audience, or would you like to?
Yeah, take some questions if they have any.
Okay, please, anyone any questions, anyone that know anything, or any other panelist members? Going once?
That's right.
We'll all ask at the same time?
I'm curious to know, are any of you all planning on taking on speaking engagements after this? To kind of, at all? No?
What am I going to say? Sure. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, one thing, I do want to say something about Marlin though. I do, we're not going to get all into this, but again, when I was driving up here, I was thinking, you know, my daughter says she's found her humans, so, okay? And it's not family and it's not blood, but these are people she's bonded with.
Yeah.
And it hit me when Pamela said you found your family, but I will say that this was the only time in my life that I found my humans. And they're here, and they were up there, and there are some people in the audience. But the only way that could happen was when you're being led by someone like Marlin, who can bring all these humans together. And so thank you for giving me such a big part of my life.
Please, anyone else?
Then I'm going to go off script here.
Please.
I feel like I need to have that pastor's moment.
All right now, bring it out.
Will there be one? You know, when Marlene told me that, all things change, right? And it's time. It's Marlene's time, and Jen and Sharon and everybody's. It's time for a changing of the guard. But there's a difference between a changing of the guard and a chaining of the fence. And just take 10 seconds and think about the story. Look over at that sign, at the banners outside. We have an organization. Y'all have built an organization that is nationally recognized. Okay? Power to the people, power to the parents. Yes, the work must go on. But you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to reinvent. Stop. But I guarantee you, if you let it sunset, you're going to be out there trying to dig it up again. So that's my altar call. All right? You don't have to come right now. But I want to encourage you to have those conversations and find out who's going to pick up the torch. And don't let it sunset. Don't let the light go out. Don't let Gwinnett stop be a legacy. Let it be a continuance, because the community still needs you. Our children still need you. All of you graduates of whether it's the Youth Leadership Institute or the Parents Institute, or if you just got the burning in your heart or in your stomach, the next group of leadership for this organization exists. You know it does. Be brave enough to grab your homeboy, homegirl, and say, let's go do this. But let's not have to dig it up and resurrect it. Please, I implore you. You all know what time it is. We talked about the fights with the Department of Education and the victories from Department of Education and Board of Education, and you see what time it is. What are we trying to do right now? Take us back. This is not the time to sunset. And so I'm gonna get off my soapbox, all right? But I unfortunately, I no longer live here in the state of Georgia, much less Gwinnett, or I would be trying to rally the troops. It's on y'all, but you have it. You have the power. Please, I implore you to wield it.
Thank you very much.
So just remember, you don't need, we all had families, jobs, and everything when we started Gwinnett Stop and ran Gwinnett Stop. And we do it too. Go forth and be powerful.